All right, Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott back again for another episode of the Nolecast, looking back at a 3-0 football team. And hey, Bud, here's to not having your dreams kicked in September. Quite the opposite, in fact. So, going to be a lot of fun tonight to talk about a team that has won 3 games, won 2 very challenging games, and we'll try to be honest on our assessment, give you the good, give you the concerning. But all in all, 3-0 is a hell of a way to start a season. And again, it's just great to get through the month of September without having all your dreams dashed. So with that, we'll thank our friends out in Napa Valley, Tarpon Cellars. Bud's got the hat on. They're going through harvest currently and going to get out sampler set to us, Bud. Looking forward to that. And
wait, to us? Because Maggie's going to have an issue with this. She thinks that now that she's not pregnant, she is owed she's owed a couple solo shipments. We're gonna have to talk about this.
Well, I'll talk with Maggie about it. She's on the quarterly plan moving forward, so I think she'll be good with time. And have you gotten a chance to use the Louisiana hot sauce bourbon infused edition that I sent down to you?
I have not, but I'm waiting to do some smoked wings this weekend. I feel like the bourbon infused Louisiana hot sauce with smoked wings is just, I mean, come on, that's got to be delicious, right?
Yeah,
I got the. So we'll get into Noles talk. We're just going to let this chat load up a little bit more. Want to get a couple more people. If you guys are in this thing, make sure you hit like on the video and subscribe, and notification gang checking in. So I have the Kamado Joe, which I am just limping along, man. You figure like I should buy a new one of these, but I've had this thing for since we had the house on Cum. Probably 9 years. I put a couple new gaskets on there. Replaced all the bolts and whatnot. Still limping that thing along. Bottom is probably about to fall out. Even it's ceramic. And I got one of those nice Louisiana grills, the pellet vertical smokers. But if you live in Florida, those pellets can go and just explode. Not like in a violent fashion, but if you leave any pellets in the hopper, with the amount of moisture in Florida, they can right, and the auger just gets totally stuck. So I need one of my buddies in Orlando to come. It's kind of a 2-man job right now. Like if I want to do it fast enough. So need to get that knocked out maybe Friday. And then I have the thing up and running, make some smoked wings and enjoy some awesome bourbon barrel aged Louisiana hot sauce infused. I'm pretty excited.
We're not a Kamado Joe podcast, but I'll tell you, I have mine that I bought about 2 years ago, and it's one of the better purchases I've made. I've got the giant or the Big Joe, and
yes,
it's brilliant. It's a great.
If Kamado Joe wants to sponsor us, we will accept that sponsorship.
We will talk. Yes. Yeah. Get to us first before Big Green Egg. That's just right up the road. But nonetheless,
that's right. Yeah,
we'll get to talking here.
All right. So you were at the game. I want to report about the atmosphere, how it went. What was like? What's it like to go to a Louisville game? What's it like to be an FSU fan at a Louisville game?
I will tell you that's the most fun I've ever had at an away game. Both just that's not a compliment to Louisville, by the way. That's
okay.
Just,
all right.
Just going up there. I'm not trying to take shots at Louisville. In fact, Mark Ennis very much talked about this in the preview. When you go up there, it's the first time I've been there, you get a feel for exactly how much ground they've made up in a fairly small amount of time. I mean, that's a program with relatively shallow roots. I'll put it that way. I'll give them credit. They've done a great job with their paint scheme in the stadium, that it looks a lot fuller than it is. Maybe like the people in the Champions Club could learn something from that I've said for 5 years now. It doesn't make any sense why we painted those seats gold, but nonetheless, it was an incredible time. I mean, it was a game that I walked by Matt Thompson at halftime. It was a 5-word exchange, but he said, "We are," 6 letters that ended in ED. And I said, "Yeah, probably."
Destined. We're destined?
Yeah, destined.
That's 7. Okay.
I said, "Yeah, probably. We probably are." And then we both went our separate ways. But it was a hell of an emotional swing. I've never met as many Nolecast listeners at a game before. That was incredible. A lot of fun. Great experience. So
fantastic, man. We were hoping maybe for the second instant reaction from the PJ. I don't know how the Wi-Fi was on the jet, but
well, I have weaponized the instant reaction, y'all. I will only tell you that when I don't see it immediately, I text Bud being like, "Hey, I'll do one. I'll do another one if we don't get it up quickly." And Bud's response is normally, please don't. I'm working on it right now. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I had a chance to watch the All-22 on this. When this is healthy, this is a pretty good football team, man. Jordan is playing at a really high level right now. If you had told me they were coming out chucking the ball, I would have probably been a little disappointed, but he was super effective doing so. I think Louisville expected FSU to come out running, which, hey, like Syracuse ran all over them. UCF, for the most part, until they really overcommitted to it, ran all over them. FSU, I think, anticipated that Louisville thought they were going to try to run the ball quite a bit, and FSU came out throwing, and it really worked. He's just playing like a grown man. Sometimes you see this. I saw this with Sean Clifford on Saturday, right? People are like, why don't they play Drew Allard, the Penn State backup? And I promise there won't be a lot of Penn State talk. But Clifford gets up there. He's got like 12 or 11 seconds left on the play clock. Decides he's going to change the play. In Jordan Hare, 95,000 screaming. Goes, gets it all communicated to his receivers, backs, tight ends, line. Even points out the guy he thinks blitzing. Points over there to the slot. Hey, you're hot behind him if he comes. Okay, cool, got it. It's just stuff that if you've played a lot of football, it's a big advantage at the college level. And Jordan has the athleticism, but he also has that experience and knowledge now to where he's going to play pretty damn well. And the LSU game to me is even more impressive than it was before, seeing how LSU played against Mississippi State, which is a quality, maybe not an amazing offense because they lost Charles Cross, who is balling out in the NFL now for the Seahawks as a rookie. But having Jordan with the athleticism, the improved throwing, he's not a great thrower, but he's a hell of a lot better than he's ever been through 2.5 games. With the knowledge and the experience, is a real dangerous weapon. It truly is in this league. And I don't know if I'm sure you saw there was a photo today, I think, of him not in a boot. So that's encouraging. Did you see that? Did you send me that? Somebody sent me that.
I did see that photo. I will tell you,
it's not time stamped, so I don't know.
It's not time stamped, but he looked like he had a little loose wrap on it. So I'm sure it's accurate. I will say I saw Jordan after the game, and he was moving. I was encouraged by what I saw. So
he was boot, no crutches, right?
He was boot, and he was basically using the crutches in a manner that if I was a trainer, I would have just taken them from him, because I'd have been like, look, you're more likely to hurt yourself using a crutch every 5 step than you like, just give them to me, either use them or don't. So he looked fine, or he looked okay.
He tweeted out good news today.
Yeah.
Don't have an official report on his injury. Like, clearly if you just watch the tape, it looks like an ankle. Right. I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV, or I guess on YouTube now that we're on YouTube. But I mean, that's something to where if you tell me he's going to miss less than a month, I would buy it. And when he's slamming his hand on the ground there, I was like, oh no, this is bad.
That looked months, not weeks. Agreed.
Yeah. So that's really encouraging. You have 2 games coming up here, right? And you kind of hope you can get through him if he doesn't play him. I would be pretty shocked if he plays against Boston College, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. What would you agree on that, or like you think he's gonna? I mean, maybe he can come back, but I kind of doubt it.
Don't think you need him. Now you got to be careful of how many people you apply logic to. Like, you've got like 4 guys right now.
They got Maurice Smith back.
Don't think we need him.
A week earlier than we thought.
Yeah. We'll see.
They still don't have Winston right back.
Norvell said, most of the reports that he's received today are pretty solid. Again, not a doctor, just from my initial conversations with people and my observations from being there, I think Verse and Jordan are good news, and waiting on more information about Robert Scott. So
yeah, that Robert Scott is absolutely the one that I'm most worried about, just based on feedback and also just watching the game. Like, I'm not going to give away anything to Boston College, but like, I'm sure Boston College, they have the TV copy. They can also watch all the angles, and I'm sure that they see what we see.
Yep.
So, per the depth chart, no one is hurt. Yeah. I'm not really sure FSU updated the depth chart at all. So it's not really a thing.
I thought that was awesome, personally. I just, throw it out there. That's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Your thoughts on Rodemaker?
I mean, the first throw is one of the another entry, or not the first throw, but the first pick is another entry into the Tate Rodemaker, YouTube video that'll make us all cringe in time, but recovered well. Thought he, again, I didn't play football in college. I don't try to talk like I was some great athlete or something like that, but I did play the game. And sometimes you just got to get smacked before you fall into a rhythm in a football game. And that's for a quarterback, that's for a linebacker, that's for anything. And that play that he hits, and I don't think this necessarily was his first hit, but what was most impressive, and when I was really in person and like, oh, we might have just turned a corner, is when I think it's about a 21-yard gain over the middle. Johnny Wilson gets tackled pretty much in the middle of the logo. Rodemaker knows he's going to get hit by at least one or two guys because they're both converging on him. Stays in, makes the throw. I thought at that moment, well, this is different than anything I've ever seen, and that's a very positive sign. It was cool, man. It was. I mean, with each throw in person, and I'm sure on TV, we were all like, "Yeah, just please let this be good Tate one more time." But it was a impressive progression. Really was incredible, incredible.
100%. I thought FSU did some things to really help him out, right? Like they ran a lot of, I'll call them high school-ish, but like high schools run these now. If you look at Tate, entering this game, he had a 13% turnover-worthy pass rate in his career. That's per PFF. Now, look, that's not a huge sample set. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to tell you like, yeah, that's what he is. But if you watch him, so far in his career, he has not shown the ability to read a defense worth a damn. Okay, it is not like he does not process multi levels of defense, multiple receivers. He doesn't really go through progressions. He just doesn't seem to get that yet. And I think in the first, like that last bit of the second quarter when he had to come in, they were just running not just some stuff, but they were just kind of running their normal offense. And I do think that in the second half, FSU was like, hey, Jordan is not coming back in this game. We have got to find a couple things that we think he can do. What does he do well? Okay, he does have some decent zip on the ball. I don't really see it when people are like, oh, this guy's got like the best arm in the ACC. And I think he makes some nice throws. Okay. He's not a good athlete, but he's not like Trent Dilfer level statue. I mean, you don't want to use him on any design runs, but he could scramble a little bit if you totally forget to cover him.
I think you may be underselling him a little bit there.
Okay.
He's pretty athletic, pretty moves well.
He had a nice scramble there. That was impressive. And so what they did, like they leaned on the RPO stuff, right? Like I talked about this in the instant. It's just, you see it, like he throws 10 passes in this game. I think 6 of them are that little glance route RPO. Mm-hmm. Guys, all he's doing on that play is reading one dude. Okay. It's not, here's pass concepts to both sides. Like, okay, just quick explainer on like what Jimbo's stuff was. And this is why I think it's hard to run sometimes. One side, you usually got a man beater. The other side, you got a zone beater, right? You get up to the line of scrimmage, and this is not just Jimbo. Like a lot of offenses are designed like this. You take a decent look at what the defense is doing. You say, hey, do we think they're in man? Do we think they're in zone? What side do we like our matchup better on? Personnel obviously factors into that, down and distance, all that kind of stuff. You basically pick a side pre-snap based on what you think the defense is going to be in, zone or man. And then you work through the progression. Okay, it's a high-low read depending on what you're running. You may be reading it out to end depending on how that part of the play is designed. But those kind of plays are designed for you to get the ball to the guy who is going to come open based on what coverage the defense is running. What FSU did with Tate was there is one target for you on this play. Okay. Your decision is not read a couple of defenders. It's there's a backer or, depending on the look, a safety. You're reading one guy. If he comes down against the run, you're going to throw this ball at Johnny Wilson. If he doesn't, you're going to hand this ball to Trayshawn Ward or Benson or Toa Philly. That's pretty much it. If it's muddled, eat it or throw it out of bounds. So FSU's not asking him to read defenses. at this point. It's pretty clear. Like I think he maybe had when over half of your half of your pass concepts in this game, he had he had a fade ball, he had that little just kind of go up and get it ball on the goal line, and that was enough. FSU only ran 10 passes with Rodemaker, right? Well, I guess they called it 11 because he did have the scramble. 11 pass plays. Great job by Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins of saying, hey, you know what? This quarterback really can't read defenses, but he can throw the ball accurately when he has confidence of where he's going to go with the ball. And I think that's important to note because you're playing to your player's strengths. Is that going to work all the time? No, it's not. If I'm Jeff Hapley, I forgot who's the D coordinator at Wake. It's not Wayne. It doesn't matter. Okay. If I'm the D coordinator at Wake, I'm going to look at that and say, all right, this is what they're doing. We're going to throw a couple different wrinkles at this to see if this kid can read it out better in the pure drop back game. We're going to have different answers because that you've played the emergence, like you kind of pulled the emergence thing. You broke the glass, fire extinguisher. Okay, we're all good. All right. Well, you may go other parts of the building. There's more fire, and you hope you don't have to go very many other parts because what you need is Jordan to come back. You can beat Boston College doing what you did if you run the ball well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Wake in a minute. You might be able to beat Wake with Rodemaker. It's possible. Wake is leaky defensively, especially.
Yeah, but love that they have to play Clemson this week too. That's good for you. So.
Yes. If Jordan happens to be out for more than 2 games, you are in real trouble when you play Clemson.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that's a game you could get shut out in with Rodemaker because they'll have answers and they don't have to blitz and they can probably stop your run game out of too high. So when I talked on the instant about like the floor and the ceiling, it's very important you got this win because if for some reason injuries, if you run bad injury wise, I think you still have a really good chance to make a bowl game. And if you get a bunch of guys back quickly, then maybe you can win the conference or something like that, right? If things break for you, especially with that. But like we got to see if Rodemaker can have some more confidence and read defense a little bit better because throughout his career so far, it's not really been a thing that he's been able to do very well. And I think that's a lot of times where his interceptions come from. He doesn't have the confidence in where he's going with it. They set him up to be confident and deliver a strike, and he's pretty accurate when he knows where he's going with it.
Yep.
Sorry for rambling there.
Hard for him to have a better instiller of confidence than what transpired on Friday night. So good for that kid. Certainly many who doubted him, and I'm one of them. Absolutely had a great response, and just not something many or any of us could have predicted going into halftime. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I did not think they were going to play like that. That was awesome. Running backs. Trayshawn Ward's a really nice college back, man. I mean, he's not somebody who's going to go to the combine and blow it away and get drafted highly because the 40 speed is not there.
Yeah.
But in this scheme, for what they want him to do, he is just a first down machine. I'm here for it. He's really, really impressive. That was awesome. Benson is a builder to me. This is an issue. He's a guy that he's a dude who can hit some explosive plays, but he doesn't have that initial quick burst. He's kind of more of a build to it type guy, I think. I want to see more. I'm not fully on this take yet, but it's like, I wish he could get going a little bit quicker on some of these, but it's also probably just a confidence and a vision thing.
It's a confidence and vision thing. I think you can, you know that it's there. I mean, when the guy decides to make the decision, his burst is second to none. His feet for a guy his size are just ridiculous. I think it's also just a carry thing. I mean, the guy hadn't gotten many college carries. I think you got to continue to feed him. But would have loved for Mr. Ward to get into the end zone for reasons that we'll get to later on in the show. But I love the rotation that you have there, and Toafili is plays his role and certainly had a great run to kind of get the ball rolling for you. So you got three, really solid options.
You want a concerning stat?
Please.
So I pulled this from Sports Info Solutions, and I it almost seems so bad that I want to think it's an error. But going back, like there were realistic, or there were plenty of times when we did see FSU get stopped, right, running the ball. Sports Info has them for 41% of rushes stopped for no gain or a loss.
Where were you last year on that number? Do you know by chance? I know that was one of the uglier stats that you had. So
what
just
workbook
curious.
is that? Let me see.
Not good podcasting by me to just
I got it here. No, it's fine. I got a new computer, so I'm doing more Excel stuff now. It's I'll pull this up. Vamp for a little bit while I do. Is there any? I don't think Benson's running scared. He's not running super confidently. I know Timmy in the chat put that he's running scared.
It just takes a second for him to get going, and I think that's something that can get better in time.
Big backs do. Like who's a big back that you can remember who was not a builder? To me, it's like Jerome Bettis. That's what made that guy so good, is because he actually had good quickness to his game. If you guys remember Jerome Bettis, if you're young, you probably don't. He played for Notre Dame and then for the Steelers for quite a long time. Won a couple Super Bowls, but a lot of these big backs are they take a while.
A lot of these big backs. A lot of OGs in the chat tonight, by the way. Shout out to Kate, to Chuck, the true Excel master. Absolutely enjoyed your spreadsheets for more than a decade now, sir. So great to see you. Yeah, man. I mean, the Ward's just kind of perfect for this offense too. You can sit there, be patient, pick up yards when you got it. That was a great call on you 3 years ago or so when we talked about not needing to burn a scholarship at that point, when you could get somebody like that at a walk-on level. Let's move to tight ends here next.
Oh, I found the stat.
Word.
So last year, FSU run stuff allowed rate. So that's basically runs that were 0 or negative, 18.5%, which was 82nd in the nation. That what they were really bad at was power success rate. So short yardage running. Remember they were dead last, or no, 130. Yeah, 130 was dead last year, because this year we added James Madison to the FBS. There's 131 teams now. So last year, 18.5%. If that stat's right, and I want to go back and check that, like just manually, because that feels like that can't be right, basically. 40.5. But there were a lot of runs that were stopped for nothing, sort of in those first and second quarters, and a little bit in third, and then FSU just kind of pushed them over. So that was great. All right, receivers. This is why you go out and get Johnny Wilson. This is like the 90th percentile projection. You're hoping that this is what you can get out of this guy who has always been big. I was laughing, like, oh, the scouts are going to find out who this guy is. I'm like, the hell they are. The scouts know who Johnny Wilson is. They want to know, can he catch? They've known who Johnny Wilson was since he was a junior in high school, since he was playing for
same high school as his teammate now and the kid at Alabama now. Which one is that?
What's the California 7 team that wears all green?
Well, that's a question you're going to have to answer, not me, dog.
Pro Way. Like I actually saw a good bit of John. Like for a guy that lives in Florida, I saw Johnny Wilson a lot in high school. It was just when he came to FSU, it was cool. It's like, man, all right, not totally buying in because I've never seen this kid catch the ball consistently or play big. But look at that, man. He's playing big. That's exactly what they want to get out of this guy. Winston Wright is the most proven receiver that you took in the portal. If Johnny Wilson plays anywhere near how he played on Friday night, then he's the best portal guy you got, because you unlocked it. Like, he's a good athlete for his size. Getting off press has been an issue. Louisville doesn't press worth a damn, so we'll see. Some teams will probably press him. That's another challenge he'll face down the line. But he had 9 targets on the night, had 7 catches, and drew 2 pass interferences. That's a pretty good rate, man. Like when you average like 20 yards a target or whatever, if you include the pass interference yards, that doesn't suck.
Yeah, man. I will tell you live, I knew Brownlee had a rough night. I didn't realize it was as bad until I went back on the rewatch.
Yeah.
That was a tough evening for the former Florida State player, and certainly Wilson played a large role in that. But Malik McClain, great to see that, man. That's awesome. I mean, we've talked a lot about Malik. Just sometimes development isn't linear, and we've been honest with you guys. Haven't heard like whispers that he's not doing things that he needs to in film review or whatever else. It's just not, progression. Like I said, doesn't always follow a direct path, but great for him to make that catch, and hopefully that's something that he can build off of. Pokey Wilson, obviously it wasn't the LSU game, but I think 2 or 3 catches, made some nice plays,
Yeah.
picked up a really significant long first down in the first half of that game. You got yourself a much improved wide receiver unit. So credit to transfer work or work done in the portal.
It's better than Miami's.
Yeah, man, I'll give you credit on that one. That is that's a rough looking unit.
Miami receiver unders on Prize Picks. Very good. Like the country might not find out for one more week, but those guys are not good.
No, that was just the atmosphere and Texas A&M defense. So let's keep that under wraps for at least 1 or 2 more weeks. But tight end play.
Let's give a shout out to Pittman.
Okay.
I think I did not catch that many balls, but he blocked his butt off and made a lot of like small, willing plays. And that is great that you get buy-in from him. That was a question coming out of Oregon. How competitive would he be? Would he play hard for you every down? And he's playing his butt off. Like Norvell deserves a lot of credit for, I want to call these like not misfit toy, they weren't cast-offs. Like other programs wanted these guys, but they are hitting pretty well in the portal here, I would say, especially considering like who's got hurt, which, like Caden Lyles, it's very foreseeable that he would have injury problems. That's all he ever had at Wisconsin. But Bless Harris, no, right? Winston Wright, no, that's a freak car accident thing. They're hitting really well in the portal, and they're finding ways to put guys in position to play to their strengths and minimize their weaknesses as best they can. And I'm pretty impressed.
Yep. I had a national guy call me today. I think he's probably working on an article about Florida State maybe being the best program in the portal era so far. Now, that may be a stretch, but they've hit on high-profile guys. And
when you factor in their volume, it's probably not that much of a stretch. They've had to take like 30 portal guys.
Yeah, and when you factor that they don't have the hey, come play here for a national championship, they're not Alabama promoting that. And oh boy, if you can start to market wide receiver like you can market defensive end, you may. We're going to have a fun conversation in about 6 weeks, Bud, when it comes to how many scholarships Florida State's actually going to offer high school kids, because portal is going to be in play, and you might do some work that is even more impressive than that of what you've done so far. So it's going to be fun. Keep winning. It tends to be a little bit more of a fun and interesting experience for all of us. So
no doubt about it. Offensive line, we believe we have an ad read first. You know what? I feel like with this team, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get people that play hard, and you're going to get guys that are put in best position for them, and that's something you can really count on. What else you can count on is the legendary team, Legendary Home Loans, 844 FSU Loan, 844 FSU Loan. I've used them twice. More than 450 Nolecast listeners have as well to get their perfect home loan. Shannon and Chad just do a great job. When you call up Shannon 844 FSU Loan, again, that's the number. You get an awesome experience, right? Like getting a loan isn't super fun, but getting the house is, or getting your refi if you want to go that route. And they're just dependable, honest dudes, great rate for you, and talk a little ball every time. So let's go to offensive line.
Let's go to tight ends before
we
skip
talk
it for the third
ends.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I thought they played okay. And this was a game FSU wanted to use a lot of tight ends. Shout out AB in the chat. You guys got to check out X's and Knowles. I thought they did a really nice job over there. Always do a great job. And shout out the OGTN crew, man.
Yeah.
And he is kicking my butt in fantasy baseball this year. Now, I won't mention that my top 2 players, Harper and Bueller, are out. But, he's whipping me pretty bad. They wanted to use more tight ends in this game. Did you notice that? Like they had a lot of 2 tight stuff early. And
they did.
I think
Absolutely.
that was intentional.
I do think that was intentional. They did a decent amount of that, if I recall correctly, once Rodemaker came in, just to simplify it a little bit more and give him a little bit more time. I thought they blocked well. I will say Travis's interception is inexcusable. Like if you're a tight end, and I realize 87 is not your traditional tight end, but in that situation, you can't have the quarterbacks hit your hand and you haven't turned your head around. I mean, you just gotta be a little bit more cognizant of what the situation is and awareness there. But they're blocking better, and that room it has improved, as a couple other have as well. So.
Agreed. Offensive line. All right. So Justin Turrentine deserves quite a bit of credit for playing at an acceptable level in relief of Bless Harris in the Superdome. When we watched some of his cut-ups from South Carolina, as FSU was debating whether to give him a scholarship or not, and to take him as one of their last takes in the transfer portal, you could absolutely see why he got benched at South Carolina, right? His up and down is like the range of outcomes on him from like not only game to game, but from like play to play.
He's got his EKG is significant. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know what to think going forward. Like, he's not a great athlete. He is in better shape than he appeared to be just looking at him physically at South Carolina. I'm not sure he has the best feel for the game. I'm sure, like, who's probably driving himself nuts about this? Atkins has got like, how does Atkins sleep at night knowing that you have that potential outcome at tackle on any given play?
Yeah, the delta
He's got to be like, Mike, we need to run 4 tight end sets this week. Just trust me on this. So, like, look, he's not a guy you brought in to start. Okay, he's somebody you brought in as depth. Unfortunately, you don't have your top 2 tackles right now. We don't know when Robert Scott's going to be back. Obviously, Bless Harris is out for the season. Your other options are Washington. But by the way, the chat is saying you're looking good, man. You've been hitting the weights.
Yeah, it's I think
you shaved. You did shave.
I think it's that healthy lifestyle I've been living the last 45 days. That's definitely it. Yeah. Trying to act like I'm 24 again, but
I finally worked off the New Orleans, Costa Rica, Alamorada, Nashville, Atlanta combo that I had in August. That was,
man, it's been a fun stretch. Yeah.
But teams see this now, and I do think they see Turrentine's not a great athlete, and I think he's guessing at times, and they're gonna try to exploit this. This is going to be something that FSU either like he gets bit by a spider or something, or like superhero type deal here, or Ninja Turtles where he drinks the ooze and just becomes a much better athlete, or they're just going to have to try to scheme around this, which is going to be difficult, right? Because on the other side, you have Washington, who, is what he is, or Armella, if you wanted to run him out there, which Armella did not handle speed either very well in these camps. Looks like he's in shape, but I think like if Armella makes the NFL, I think it's more as like a right tackle / guard type guy. So I don't know what the answer is there against the better lines you play.
A little bit of an on-site report. I think they came very close to putting Armella in the game at one point. They
bench watching
had him warming up specifically with a trainer. He looked like he was about to go in. Yeah, and maybe that was just a kid proving himself, like, hey, maybe Atkins will look over here and see that I'm really ready, or what. But it looked like there was some intent behind it. So maybe we'll keep an eye on that moving forward.
I was pleased with Darius Washington, given like the physical limitations I think he has. Like he didn't get you killed. He actually made a couple nice blocks. I was there for that. That was good.
At some point, you just got to get. I don't mean to sound like a smart ass or oversimplify this, but like you can't keep losing an offensive lineman a game. I mean, no ish, Sherlock. Great comment, Ingram. But we all realize we've kind of run through our string of offensive line injuries at this point. Anything else? We're just look, to an extent, it makes going 3-0 all the more important. You got to bank as many wins as you can, get it, and realize that I'm not trying to be negative Nancy here, but one of these times you're going to step in a hole in offensive line that you can't recover if you get another injury. So we unfortunately we've been unlucky, wildly unlucky, but we've gotten to that point in a manner that is a hell of a lot faster than I think you could have expected.
So I will give them some credit. Turrentine and Manuel late in the game started moving some guys off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was encouraging. They switched up some of the stuff they ran a little bit, and I thought they were just like, look, we got to go out and just block these guys straight ahead at times. They ran a little bit of that zone stuff to the short side, which seemed to work pretty well. It's nice to have Trayshawn making sure he reads it and hits the hole correctly. So that was good. If you have Tate in there, I don't need to see more than about 6 or 7 drop back passes per game. It needs to be running, play action, or RPO, which, by the way, RPO is not quarterback run or quarterback handed off. RPO is literally run or pass. Like you're making a handoff or throw decision. Okay. That's what that is. So like, don't chat. I know the chat always talks, oh, our RPO doesn't work. Like, guys, RPO is not zone read. That's different. That's why we call that zone read, or, veer, or inverted, if whatever you want to call it, depending on what you're running. What they're doing with Rodemaker, he's making a choice to hand it off or pull it and throw it to Wilson, or pull it and throw it to the other Wilson or Pittman. So yeah, that's good job moving Louisville off the ball in the second half. You will need to do that to Boston College this weekend. You will need to do that to Wake next weekend, or the weekend after that. You will not be able to do that to Clemson. So you need Jordan to come back for the Clemson game. And you're going to need this defense to play hell of a lot better than it's been playing, which I guess at this point is we need to go to the defense, because I was disgusted upon rewatch, man. This is not good.
It's tough. There's some things that I was disappointed from a scheme perspective. I also think that a couple guys just had tough nights tackling, and to an extent, you got to tip your hat to the quarterback.
He's quick.
He's a real good player, and in the first half, he was unconsciously good. I think to an extent, he just kind of ran himself, emptied his gas tank by how much he was running. And I have to go back and look at it. I really thought he was a different player after he hit that 65-yard run where he just puts his foot in the ground and a couple guys overrun, and all of a sudden he's in the open field. So yeah, we'll talk about the defense and what we could take away from it.
So this defense does not look well coordinated to me on a consistent basis. It's better than it was last year, certainly. I think they get okay buy-in, but I just don't, especially the secondary, man. I'm like, I don't know. And then up front, this was compounded. Like, I don't know. How do I say this in the correct way? I don't think you get the level of recruiting from some spots on this staff that justifies the quality of coaching you're seeing. Is that a good way to put that? Like, there's kind of a matrix. If you're a head coach evaluating a coach, right? It's coaching and recruiting. If you're not that good at coaching, better be better at recruiting. Otherwise, got to go like that, right? North Carolina puts up with it because their DB coach is an amazing recruiter. Now, granted, like, they're giving up like 1,000,000 yards a game. I have some questions there. Mike's doing a great job of this program right now, especially given the injuries and some of the limitations. But long term, he's got to be thinking, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to take your point here. This is something you mentioned to me earlier, but I just say that your coordination issues are all the more exacerbated when you try to play zone of almost any kind.
Yes,
and I don't understand that. That's not. We are not running super complex stuff, and AB and Kev do a great job of breaking this down, and certainly watch their content to get a greater feel for it. But I don't understand why we have such a. It just, when we run zone, it's not where it should be, miles from where it should be, to be honest with you. So, and I don't love responding to individual chatters, but Daniel, I appreciate you, or John. Jeff Collins doesn't need to be anywhere near this program. I don't need to hear him talked about a defensive coordinator or anything else. So, yeah, let's get back to Florida State's defense.
All right. So I know Connolly had FSU is having 17 passes defended against zone coverage or playing zone, and 13 passes defense playing man. I think that this comes from this is also from SIS, which is Sports Info Solutions. I actually charted this because I was really interested to see what was going on. I have different, you know, I have different numbers as far as how often they were playing it, but I do think that it is telling that they are allowing a 64% success rate when playing zone. That is basically like allowing every single offense that you play when you play zone to be like 2018 Oklahoma or 2008 Oklahoma, 2013 FSU. Pick like whatever best defense you've ever or best offense you've ever seen in college football and go with that. Like that mid 60s success rate allowed. You have better athletes than that. Okay. To me, that is on coaching. The inability to play zone that successfully basically ever is problematic to me. So they're doing kind of what they did against LSU, which I don't disagree with. Like we said it on the preview show. We said, look, this is going to be limit explosive plays, play red zone roulette. Your offense needs to be able to score 35 plus, and maybe you can limit them to high 20s. Okay, if they run bad. I think I predicted 27-20 because I thought Louisville's offense had honestly looked like crap the first 2 weeks. UCF did a better job than you did against Louisville, and Syracuse did a much better job than you did against Louisville. I thought this defensive coaching effort was terrible, so I'm not here for it.
Yeah, I will say I was disappointed. I may not be quite as critical as you. I will say that like your safeties had way too many missed tackles too. And again, you got to give credit to Cunningham sometime. But even if you go back and watch, 27 didn't have a great game tackling at all, and Robinson didn't have a brilliant one either. And you know that he's pretty decent at that. So sometimes you just have to say that Louisville's kids made some plays. But if you're going to sit back in as much kind of too high like that, then when your safeties do come up and get involved, you need them to make the tackle, and that didn't happen nearly as many times as it should have.
100% agree. I will also note, like, we're going to talk about FSU's injuries, and they certainly were important and detrimental in this game. And I thought the kid that came in for Louisville did an okay job at left tackle. But I will note, like, Louisville lost a pretty fast receiver to Bama and Tyler Harrell in the offseason through the portal. And they had Wiggins and Amari Huggins-Bruce also go down in this game, and those are their top two receivers. At some point, FSU did have to decide they're going to get out of some of this too high look. And I think they were fortunate that Louisville's receivers got hurt when they did. Otherwise, we could be talking about a hard-fought loss here because Louisville did not make FSU pay deep. Is that the one? Was the one when he was out? But like they definitely did not repeatedly make you do it. You know what I'm saying? So that to me was fortunate. Other teams can exploit you more on that if you do have to commit more guys to the run, which clearly, like, look, you just bullied LSU's offensive line. Louisville's offensive line has looked like crap all year, which I thought was weird because going into the year, we thought they were going to be a good offensive line. Mm-hmm. Remember? It's like, yeah, that's one of the best offensive lines you'll face, given that they were pretty damn good at the end of last year. And then this year they looked okay. Yeah, you got you basically got a break there. You look, you would rather have them have their full complement. You have Jordan Travis because Jordan Travis stays in that game. You're scoring 45 and you're not losing, right? Like Louisville's not going to stop Jordan consistently. Jordan had like one drive where I think he was a little bit confused, and then other than that, he was just carving them up. So, yeah, I do think those receivers going out when they did helped you quite a bit. You're exactly right. Like the tackling in this game was poor. I do think they underestimated Malik Cunningham's speed just by some of the and look, you're not going to get him all the time. Some of the angles they took, though, to me, showed that they thought they could get this guy on the ground, and they were kind of greedy angles that worked on Jaden Daniels, but did not work on Cunningham. Cunningham's a better athlete than Daniels is. That kid can really run.
Much better. I mean, and look, I'm as big of a fan of Kalen DeLoach as there is. We'll get to it when we talk about linebackers, but Kalen DeLoach just, I talk about football geometry sometimes, just didn't calculate the angle at all. And I can understand that on one play, but after the guy runs through your angle once or twice, you got to start to realize that you can't just, pull the pin and run in a straight line and expect to hawk that kid down. It's just not how it's going to work. So,
I'm I think it's pretty clear they're not going to be able to count on this defensive line against some of the offensive lines they face to dominate unless everybody gets back healthy. Like if you get Lovett back by Clemson, which, I mean, I don't have insider information on this, but like to me, Clemson would be the one you would circle, right? If you can get it back by Wake, that's fantastic. But you need them healthy for the stretch run. This is definitely a better defensive line when Lovett's in there. But what they were asking the defensive line to do, given that they were trying to stay in too high, was something the defensive line was not able to do. So we can say they got bullied, and they did, but like they were not. Some guys have easy tasks, and some guys have hard tasks in a game. If you think about it, right? Not everybody's going to draw the easy assignment, and they put hard assignments on this defensive line. They weren't able to live up to that. I thought Cooper did not play a great game. Like he was not able to beat doubles very often, and he got moved. Jackson, I've just never been a believer. He did not play very well. I thought Ray and Farmer had some good snaps, actually. They're more quickness type guys, And then defensive end wise, like Briggs is not what he was last year pre-injury yet. Peyton had to come in for first when he gets hurt. Peyton was okay. Like I'm encouraged by Peyton, But they're going to have to do things differently defensively going forward if you play a good offensive line, which we'll talk about this in our next segment, which is our look-ahead opponents, reassessing the schedule based on what I watched this weekend. You're not going to be able to do this too high, let the defensive line beat doubles and dominate up front stuff nearly to the extent you thought you were. LSU, it turns out, is probably one of the worst offensive lines you're going to play on the schedule.
Yeah. You're certainly going to need a healthy Fabian Lovett and a healthy Jared
Yes.
Verse to even, dream of the idea. But which I do think Fuller thought that the defensive line would have a little bit of a better immediate impact. I think they played better as the game went on. But in the first quarter, in particular, that was not, I think, what you thought you were going to get out of that unit at all. So,
yeah. And yet you won the game. Like you got away with some stuff here. You had some assumptions going into the game that were incorrect. You probably took a little bit too long to get out of some of those assumptions, right? One thing that I was wrong about going into this, I thought that they were not going to play like mush rush on Malik. I thought they were just going to go after him, and let the linebackers clean it up. Because like that's what Verse does best. You don't like Verse trying to mush rush, keep a guy contained is not really his game. He's shot out of a cannon 24/7, and his effort level and his hustle are insane. I was a little bit surprised that they tried to play more of that contain rush. They don't do that very well. Like this is not a team under Fuller who has done that all that well against mobile quarterbacks. So I thought that the playing against Daniels would have been okay here. You might give up a couple more explosive rushes, but if you're playing that too high stuff, you should have angles to clean it up anyway. And then maybe you let the linebackers clean it up if he escapes, especially if you're going to play, some like one spy stuff. So just me, I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I do expect the defense to look better coached than that, given the level of recruiting you get from some of the guys in the back half of that defensive coaching staff. Deloach, as you said, had a really difficult task on the night.
Yeah. If we're talking about tough assignments, chasing number 3 around all night is as tough as gave you. And he had some nice plays, made that one sack early where they were down in the red zone. That was great to see. Deloach, a great player. Never doubt the effort from him. Deloach is a good player. Never doubt the effort from him. And against almost any other quarterback in the country, most of those pursuits are tackles. I'd love to see him make that tackle on the original 4th down play in the last drive of the game, where you could have a game ender there, but you're not gonna make every tackle. But like we said, there are tough assignments, and then there are you're going to be chasing around one of the more physically gifted quarterbacks in the country tonight. So good luck.
No doubt about it. All right, we've talked about the DBs quite a bit. Like Renato Green, I thought played all right, maybe even good. So he's a little better than I thought he was going to be. Cooper played 10 snaps, so that's not a lot. They need to get him back if you want to play a greater variety of coverages. So, Yeah, Cooper wasn't in on more than like 1 or 2 series, man. From what I saw, like I went back and watched it. I not a lot. He's clearly not fully healthy.
You know who had a decent game? A guy
Who?
that a lot of people have written off, Brennan Gant. And I'm not saying
at
that he had a great performance, but it was good effort, some solid special teams play. I love to see it, man, because that's a guy that I wasn't sure where his contributions are going to come from, and he's done a good job of working himself back into somewhat of a rotation.
100%. No, I'm impressed there, man. I think they were trying to really break him, changing his number. Like, he's a guy I think they thought might have transferred, and dude stuck around, stuck it out. So that was solid. Shout out Kevin Knowles for getting the pick. Yeah, chat's on about that one for sure.
Yep. Speaking of stick around, Matt Thompson and his team's been sticking around for us for 7 years now, or whatever it's been. Great to see Matt both at the bar before the game and ran into him at the game. No greater supporter of Florida State athletics, or just the experience of being a Florida State athletic supporter. So whether it be Matt, where we really love talking about currently is Charlie Park, but any of the properties for the Table Restaurant Group, Township, etc. Big shout out to my cousin Jason Smith. Not really, I just love making that joke about anybody with the last name Smith because I'm lame. But Jason's Nolecast listener made his way over to the Charlie Park brunch that we've been bragging about. And if you're making your way down to Tallahassee this weekend for the BC game, would certainly encourage you guys to keep that in the back of your mind. It is exceptional. It is a grazing brunch with everything from oysters to octopus to tuna. It's just fantastic. Jason went, had a great time, wrote Matt Thompson a very kind email. So always appreciate it when any of our listeners can provide support to our sponsors. And it's even better when they interact with them and let them know that they came from the Nolecast. Do want to point out on that brunch, if that's something you're thinking about, or if maybe you just think you're going to go up there and have, cocktails and apps on Friday night or something, it's worth making a reservation. That is a little bit of a different place than Madso or Township, where you're just going to walk in. Not saying that you can't do it, but would highly encourage reservations when you're looking at Charlie Park.
100% agree with you, man. That is awesome, and we love hearing that kind of feedback. We do try to take sponsors that we actually use and like. It's a consistent thing, so that we were not pitching stuff that we just have no interest in pitching, right?
We don't try. We exclusively do. Just to correct Bud. But
okay, fair. Yeah, Igor's like, hey, what about this gambling company? Like, no, like if you win, they kick you out. They don't actually pay. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, we try to take guys that will actually endorse. All right, let's do a quick look ahead opponents. We are running long today. I'm having fun with this. I don't know. You got early work tomorrow?
Let's let it roll. 3-0 Nolecast. We can go a little bit longer than we would otherwise.
Sounds good. By the way, the Titans are getting rocked, and I am playing Josh Allen tonight in fantasy, so that means I am also probably getting destroyed. My phone's over there. I'm not looking at it. Okay, Boston College lost another offensive lineman. They are actually in worse shape than FSU is on the offensive line, maybe by a lot. They had a 30% success rate running the football against Maine. Now look, guys, Maine is an FCS school. They're a pretty good FCS school. They're still an FCS school. If you ever have a 30% rushing success rate against an FCS school and you don't enter garbage time until like ever, they got real problems on offense at BC. I keep these charts with all these depth charts, and I update them because I want to be informed on cover 3, and I think personnel really matters. If you're not paying attention to who's actually playing in the games, you're not going to be able to speak correctly on all the teams you might have to talk about on a national show. They were starting a left tackle. I don't have on my sheet. Okay. He's a redshirt freshman walk-on.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah. Quick recap. Boston College lost 4 guys off last year's team to the NFL at offensive line. The best guard in the ACC, Christian Mahogany, tore up his knee playing pickup basketball this offseason. So that meant you were 0-5 off that really good BC returning offensive line last year. FSU got to play them when they were pretty banged up last year. And that was a benefit because if BC was at full strength, that game could have gone differently. Then they also lost a kid named Klein, who was a right guard for them, to a season-ending injury, I believe an ACL, in the game before they played Maine. And this is just, it's bad. This line is Remember that one year when you and I just knew that FSU was screwed when what's his name went down in preseason camp, and you're like, oh God, Willie's first year. You're like, oh, they may not be able to block anybody, man. Like they just don't have bodies right now.
I was gonna say I've felt that way for about a 3-year window, but I know what you're talking about.
Trapillo is their other lineman. He's still out. I don't know if he's going to be back for FSU, but if he's not, this is the worst non FCS line you'll play all year, including what Louisiana has and including what Georgia Tech has. They just don't have guys right now who should be playing. It's all like true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, guys who I just think if you gave that coaching staff the truth serum, there's no way they think those guys would be playing. That's what you're seeing this Saturday. This is absolutely a race to 20 points on Saturday. Like if you told me, hey, FSU's going to score 24 on Saturday, I'm like, what's that show? Deal or No Deal? Right? Like if the banker calls Mike Norvell and he's like, hey, man, Mike, I know it's your home opener against an FBS team. You're 3-0. You're starting Tate Rodemaker. You probably don't have Robert Scott. Just use some common sense here. You got Turntine and Darius Washington playing tackles. I'm going to give you 24 points. Mike needs to be like, deal to deal, done, go home. All right, I can feed my family, whatever people say on that show when they take it, right? If they can get 24 points, you need to take that all day this weekend.
Bud Elliott's in good form tonight. I want to give you credit on your lighting too. This isn't great for the podcast listeners. I apologize, but it feels almost like you're doing this like in an aquarium or something like that tonight. So that's cool. Good lighting.
I want to give you credit for sending me the new Coke bottles, man.
Yeah, I was bopping around Atlanta a couple weeks ago, found some Coke bottles. Had to think about my man. Yeah, absolutely.
We got the Georgia Tech, which is awesome. Also got this is cool. I actually do like this one. This is Eddie Robinson, 324.
Yeah.
So he gets the wins record. I don't think they actually recognized historically black colleges wins records back then. So instead of being like, official, they just put the wins record on there.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a hard one to find.
I was happy to find that one. Absolutely.
I take Liam to the post office to go to my P.O. box, and he really likes it. But then we talk about like, hey, there's 2 stores. There's a no-touch store, which is the antique store right next to there, which I can go and just scan to see if they got any new of these. And then we have the touch store, which is the Ace Hardware, and he can touch stuff in there, whatever. So, yeah, too many Clemson bottles. I agree. I have one that I need to swap out actually for that I just got it. It's one of the old school Penn State ones, but that's where I go. There's a little spot in Orlando that I check, and they seem to have a pretty good stock. And once in a while you find a new one, and once in a while your podcast partner sends you 3 nice new ones. So, Boston College this weekend, we'll do a deeper dive preview. We actually have a guest lined up, guys. They're not in a good spot. I feel bad for Hafley there. I think he's probably a pretty good coach. They lose their guy who I think is probably an NFL quarterback long term there, and then this year they lose like everybody who wears a number in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. So you need your defense to carry you this weekend and shut down this offense. Like you need to hold them to something in the single digits or the teens. Do we know why Fabian Lovett didn't travel with the team? Yeah, guys, like he's a 330-pound guy. Travel cannot be like good on you if you got, a boot-related injury. Stay home, get healthy, and get back in time,
Yeah.
George Giorgiotti says, I'd love to have Hafley if they fire him. I highly doubt it, though. Yes, no doubt. Yeah, like that's another deal. If that happens, like look what happened to Ohio State's defense when he left. That guy can coach and he can recruit. Wake Forest had some really concerning stats this weekend. I think there are some problems there. Their fans are actually kind of not happy with Hartman, which is amazing because I don't really think their offense is that big a problem, but their run offense is bad. Ingram, check this out. 54% of runs against Liberty went for no gain or negative yardage.
That's concerning.
I've not watched all these snaps yet, but that is insane. They had a success rate of, where are we at here? Rushing success rate of 18%. Not great. Their defense also gave up 428 yards to Liberty, 5.6 to play. They have some line issues on both sides of the ball. Vandy moved the ball on them a little bit, you know. We got Georgia's name right. I'm not going to try to pronounce it correctly for the second time. I'm going to stick on that again. We're
Take
deal.
yeah, exactly.
We're going to take it.
Stay with the theme. Absolutely.
Yeah. NC
Yeah.
State offensively blows. They are worse than they were last year on offense. I don't like what their offensive does scheme wise. I think they kind of hurt Devin Leary a little bit. Defensively, Texas Tech has a pretty good offense, and they totally shut those guys down. They allowed like 13 points. You have to go to Raleigh. That D-line is nasty. Both linebackers are back and healthy. Remember, both kids they lost last year. And the secondary looks to be not leaky in any way. You're going to need this defense to get right because that's a game you probably need to find a way to win like 24-20. I don't think you're going to go up to NC State and score mid-30s. Maybe you will. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be. That looks like a pretty good defense right now. Clemson had a bunch of guys, like they held a bunch of guys out this weekend. Obviously, Brian Brzee, his sister tragically passed of cancer. I don't know if you saw that, but Louisiana Tech had all their players in their team.
Very classy. Very classy.
Clemson's getting most of those guys back this weekend, from what I understand. It'll be an interesting test to watch them at Wake. Their offense is not great, but their defense is probably still the best in the country if everybody's healthy, which, yeah.
David Hale had some good stats about Clemson today about points scored through 3 games, went back to 2014. This year's much more in line. In fact, it's a little bit higher than every year but one. I would have loved to seen that parsed out as to like what it looked like through the first 3 quarters. Clemson put on some offensive performances at the end of the game that I think has stretched that out a little bit. I still think, look, you get Clemson, you get DJU on a 6 out of 10 performance, and you hope to win on the last possession. That's limiting. I'm certainly not thinking you're going to win that game, but despite what they've done and despite what some of those stats say, I still think that there's a recipe there that could see you get them for the first time in a long time. Georgia Tech, man, just
quit watch,
garbage. Right? I mean, I watched almost all of that game just almost out of sadistic reasons. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Collins and had heard some interesting things about that program over the course of the week. In their last 5 games, they've lost to Notre Dame 55-0, Georgia 45-0, and Ole Miss 42-0. The only reason they haven't fired him is because of money. And that's an interesting case study in and of itself. In the early 2000s, Georgia Tech had the highest assistant coaching salary in the ACC and one of the highest ones in the country. They also had one of the highest paid basketball coaches in the country. I don't know how their financial situation has deteriorated as much as it has in the 15 or 20 years, but they are, they've got to do everything according to budget, and I think they're just going to have to grin and bear it with Jeff Collins. I don't think you're going to see – I think that guy's going to get fired the Monday after the Georgia game, and I don't know, maybe they get –
I think it might be later than that. His buyout drops on 1-1.
On 1-1? Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's a hard reset. Like, you save $4 million.
Yeah, and I just don't know that like the rumor is on the Scott Frost thing that one of the highest executives in Berkshire Hathaway, which is based out of Omaha, maybe this is just rumor BS, but somebody called up the AD, said, don't care what the buyout is, I'll cover it, do it. I don't think that call's being made at Georgia Tech. They're just in a place where they're just going to have to ride, and that's going to be real tough. So,
agreed. Miami, I think we had the read on this.
Yeah,
like if you watched like every snap of Southern Miss, you actually watch what they were trying to do. Van Dyke is a pretty good thrower of the football. The offense they had last year did not really require him to read different things. It's kind of Baylor-esque with what they do. It's a cheat code offense in college football. Now they're trying to run a much more pro-style offense. He doesn't look comfortable running it. They had, Restrepo go out with a foot injury 4 to 6 weeks, and the rest of the receivers don't scare anybody right now. The offensive line actually ran the ball decently okay, but that offense is not explosive right now in any way. They play a lot slower. I think the defense is pretty damn good, actually. So,
Defense is pretty solid. I will say that there's some throws to be made there in that game, and Van Dyke throws them at people's ankles. I'm not trying to pile on,
and they had 6 drops too.
Yeah, that's true as well. But that's a. I mean, I know there's 107,000 crazy ass Colt members there screaming their heads off, and A&M's got a decent defense, despite trying to suspend and then get their entire secondary ejected in the first quarter. But that was ugly. And your in-game coaching in that game, holy crap.
That's what you get with Mario.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You get an amazing recruiter, right? You get a guy who's a really good program builder, and you get a guy whose game management is routinely terrible, and under whom offenses have not thrived. We got 11 years of head coaching data on Mario Cristobal. He's going to win a whole lot of games because their development and their recruiting are going to be great. The in-game stuff, the stuff you can win on the margins on Saturday, he's not good, man. Like, he makes negative. The thing is, if you just sit down at the table and you're not counting cards, you can play blackjack for a while. You can get some free drinks out of it, right? Maybe you lose couple hundred if it's late night and it's $25 hands or whatever. If you just sort of play it by the book. If you do stuff that's like really negative EV, you're walking away from the table having lost a couple G's. Those are the coaching decisions in games that Mario Cristobal makes. Really, really bad ones that hurt his team's chance of winning. Like, anytime you can cut a 2-score lead to a 2-score lead by kicking a field goal, you got to do it. But they knew what they hired, or they should. He's not a new head coach. He's done this stuff all the time. Like, he's won the Pac-12. He's done a great job there. They're going to get a boatload of talent. They're going to recruit their butts off, and they're going to develop the talent well.
Yeah. I think that was deciding to kick a field goal to take a 2-score lead to a 2-score lead after running on 3rd and 7 or whatever it was. Like, just, whoo boy. So, yeah. Anyhow.
100%. Syracuse actually beat Purdue and did not look very good in doing so. Like, I didn't upgrade Syracuse after this weekend. I'm beginning to not like this matchup for the Noles quite as much, though.
Mm-hmm.
We will see where it goes. I do know that Syracuse's offensive line is extremely thin. They like their starters. The backups are real sketch. So we'll have to see how healthy they are. That game is 7 weeks away. Defensive line and defense for Syracuse is a pretty complex move defense. And I have real questions about your athleticism on your FSU offensive line and handling that. Like, that's going to be a problem, I think, right now. And I got 7 weeks to change my mind, but I don't like the way that's matching up right now.
I mean, we'll have to determine Scott, but nobody else is coming back from an injury. So,
right, Lyles and Harris are done.
You've also got 7 weeks to only sustain another injury, unfortunately. So, yeah, we can make our evaluations later on, but I'm concerned that particular area may be even more of a problem matchup by the time we get there. But, burn that bridge when we get there.
Louisiana lost to Rice. They're like a shell of their former self. Yeah,
I love seeing that. Confirmed a lot of speculation, but love seeing it.
I think Richardson's hurt for Florida. If you watch that second play in the Kentucky game, that guy dives at his ankle and he comes up limping pretty good. Yep. I wonder if they weren't babying him. But you know what? We talked about it all offseason. Their defensive line depth ain't there. They're running out a kid who's 430 pounds and looks every bit of it.
I still love that. I will say with Richardson, and if you were listening to every episode we did the early part of last year, you will have heard this. And if you didn't, because Florida State lost or started out 0-4, I don't blame you. But it was, I think, the third game that we talked to a guy that had directly talked to Florida State or to Florida staff. And the coach acknowledged that he wanted to start playing Richardson. Richardson was going to be his quarterback. Never ended up doing it because he couldn't bring him along to a point to where it got there. And I'm not trying to take shots at a kid, but you had a guy who's got a pretty good track record of developing quarterbacks actively try to turn him into QB1 last year throughout the course of the season and never felt comfortable doing it. You can make of that what you will.
I'm still positive on him long-term, but I'm not positive on him real short-term. If he's healthy, though, like if they get him healthy, which who knows if and when they will, or maybe he's not hurt at all. And this is speculation on my part, but he had some real juice against Utah. I mean, that 75-yard touchdown run, he just dusts them. And he's an elite runner if he's healthy. I'm not really sure he's super healthy right now.
Here's the other thing with whatever state he's in, you've almost got to run the hell out of him. I mean, you've got to turn him in
Right.
to a running quarterback. And if he's not healthy, then good luck trying to figure out whatever the adjustment or decision process is there.
So this weekend, Richardson, 10 of 18 for 112, 2 picks, success rate 32%, scrambling 3 for 26. He had 6 designed runs for 28 yards against a terrible USF defense. I don't think Florida's receivers scare anybody. Like Pearsall's not bad. Shorter is just big at this point. Like I'm not saying he's terrible, but he looks like Terrell Owens and doesn't actually play anywhere near him.
Did you see that old dude run a 40 recently? I don't mean to just constantly do.
No.
I'll find the video and send it to you. You got 45-year-old Terrell Owens running a 40 in like 4.55, beating a bunch of 20-year-olds. You just realize that, like, oh my God, genes matter, and that dude's still an absolute beast.
That's why I hate these dads of 12-year-olds. Like, I got the number one 12-year-old in the country. Like, bro, you don't got anything until we figure out who wins the puberty lottery. All right, well, either you do or you don't.
We don't talk about anything other than Florida State football in our personal lives and stuff like this. But I'll say I went and watched my godson's soccer team this weekend. He's playing like 10 or 12-year-olds. And one of his teammates is Roddy Brown's son.
Okay,
and,
I'll buy that.
Oh, you can tell the genes are different on that one, dog. I mean, a bunch of kids running around, and then all of a sudden 23 gets the ball and just dust 4 kids up the sideline. You're like, oh, yeah, that is genes matter. And that dude's got a different set of genetics than everybody else on the field. No.
Maggie's cousin is a 2025 tight end. Receiver, according to his dad. But I saw him at the beach at the family reunion thing, and it was I was like, how old is this kid? He was like, just turned 14. He was 6'4", 218, was a national finalist in the shot put, and starting on varsity at a really good high school in South Carolina as a freshman. So I was like, oh, and he could dunk. Like, okay, first of all, we don't call this tight end or the receiver, right? We probably call this offensive tackle, like some back of the napkin math. Buy a chest freezer. This kid is already huge. You're probably going to gain about a pound a month from here on out. If you just doing the math, you'll go into college about 285, 290. Dad played college ball. Mom played college volleyball. Both sisters are like top end, college volleyball players. Very athletic family there. But sometimes you kind of know, but the kids can still stop growing. 12-year-olds, I have no interest in trying to like scout them. But obviously, Roddy Brown was fast as hell, and that's I'm excited to see. You want to talk a little recruiting?
I'm excited to talk about recruiting. I'm excited to see how this week plays out.
Me too.
Wink, wink.
Tomorrow night, you guys need to subscribe to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel, because that is where Blake Nicholson will be committing live, 9:30 Eastern. Why so late? Well, because he's in California. It's only about 6:30 in Manteca, California. Really good athlete. Really good. FSU, Oregon, prime candidates here. I think FSU feels pretty good, MH's comment. Oh my gosh. Sorry for podcast listeners. That's an elite comment in the chat there. Oh my. All right, keep it together. FSU obviously has not done a great job recruiting linebackers in recent years. They hit on Deloach. They hit on Bethune in the portal. If you can get Blake Nicholson to come, and I think there's a pretty good shot you do. Oregon's obviously the other real contender there, and they're doing a great job too. You get to go play for Dan Lanning, who just put 5 guys in the first round on Georgia's defense last year. That's going to be one to watch, man. Like, he's a guy who I think could play early for you in his career here if he commits to you and if you can get him signed. So we'll be watching there, but very good athlete, 2-way player in high school. I'm here for it. That's one of the better linebacker prospects they would have signed in a while.
Yep. Yeah, would be a great get. Credit to the staff in general, but I know Derek Ray certainly has a relationship that is put you in a good position to win that battle. And then we would all turn our eyes to Sunday. And I'm interested in hearing a little bit of the post Texas A&M response from Hakeem Williams and what people kind of around that landscape describe it as. But I certainly think that you put yourself in a fantastic position. And I think that you've got a real good chance of going 2 for 2 this week. And my Lord, what a statement that would be if you do.
Wait, Sunday? I thought it was Friday.
Oh, is it Friday? Okay, it probably is Friday. I thought it was Sunday, but I could be wrong on that.
I mean, so he is scheduled to commit on CBS HQ on Friday.
Then yes, you're probably going to know if it's on CBS
okay, I mean,
HQ.
it is. Okay.
I'm going to yield to you on that one, bud.
All right. Now, if you have an update, I was like, I'm going to need to send some emails on this. if Ingram is breaking the news on this, we're an hour and 15 minutes into the podcast. It's late night. I'm drinking the sleepy time tea here, so a couple segments left. Guys, Hakeem Williams is freaky athletic. He is tall. He's a basketball guy who plays football with some physicality to him and some violence to his game. We like him a whole lot at 24/7 Sports. We have him as the number 5 receiver in the whole country, the number 26 overall player in the country. Like, that is a big time player. I don't think you could have played this any differently, honestly, or any better. So you go out, you throw the ball to receivers against LSU. Okay. You throw the ball to receivers against Louisville, particularly a big receiver, and you force feed him over and over again. He breaks the rock for you. If you watch that cool video FSU put out, they got to be telling Hakeem, man, look, if we got a dude, you're getting the rock. We're force feeding you the ball. In that second half, we threw 8 passes or 7 passes to Wilson, man, to Johnny Wilson. Other teams might not throw you 9 passes in 3 games. Look at Texas A&M, right? I don't think, like, he was in town for that game. A&M's receivers look like crap. They look terrible against App State too. All right. Miami's receivers, that's the only other competition. Haven't done much so far. Georgia, long term, I think that's kind of a worry, right? Like, they're an absolute killing machine right now. They just blitz everybody they play. Pitt, they didn't win the game. Their quarterback got knocked out. Even when he didn't get knocked out, they were trying to run the ball a whole lot. Narduzzi has openly criticized the guy who brought them the best offense in the history of the program and won the Biletnikoff. Okay. By the way, Hakeem actually liked that tweet you sent about, I wonder if Hakeem saw them force feeding Johnny Wilson to the tune of
I missed that. That's catches. Awesome. Very cool.
I didn't realize that. The chat is telling me that he liked that.
If he did that, that's also cool because he was in College Station at midnight. So that's good. That's good.
It's a legitimate point you made, though, right? Yeah. Like, in your darkest hour, you just said, hey, we're going to throw the ball to the huge guy, the big fast dude. And it actually worked out pretty well. Don't have to scheme everybody open all the time. Sometimes you just let your athlete get open. So that was that's according to Rob Alvarez in the chat. If you didn't like it, then find Rob.
It's on Rob. Absolutely. Coming for Rob.
On YouTube. I did not check the likes on that. I work for a living. I can't scour through but we appreciate, obviously he's buddies with Omar Graham. He also likes Ron Dugans, man. And Dugans is a guy who has not done a great job recruiting the last couple of years at receiver position. Obviously, we don't need to rehash all this, but Hakeem does seem to like Dugans quite a bit. They were chopping it up when they were down there at the FIU satellite camp that FSU went down to. Norvell played receiver. He desperately wants to feature more receivers as offense.
No. I'll give Dugans credit, and this doesn't matter much in recruiting. You either sign the kids or don't, but even some of the guys that have ventured elsewhere, the feedback has been that they've had pretty good relationships with Dugans, actually. So I don't know if it's just a series of guys that he was able to connect better with. Maybe he had a different approach in recruiting, whatever it is. He seems to have had much more traction with this year's kids than he has in a while. So good for him. Credit to him.
Agreed. I don't have a crystal ball in for this one yet. Hakeem's played it pretty close to the vest. FSU, I think, has done a nice job being competitive in all areas here, right? Showing him the path to playing time, showing him that they'll feature guys in his offense. Norvell's track record at Memphis as well. Probably some comparative recruiting. Like, please watch these other games that are going on and see that there's all these 5 stars at A&M that are not getting the ball consistently. Guys, I don't know if he's going to commit to FSU or not. I think there's a good chance. really do. Like, I don't think you could have done a better job in this recruitment, to be honest. Like, if you don't get them, you don't get them. But the staff deserves a lot of credit for what they did, and they were also pretty fortunate, I think, with certain happenings elsewhere that were out of their control.
Complete agreement. I think some other staffs opened the door for them, and they did a great job of stepping into it. So good.
It won't be done though, I don't think.
No, this is going to go. I mean, look, I've talked about this before.
5-star.
It's a South Florida 5-star, and it's South Florida's 5-star that Jimbo Fisher has made his own personal project. And I don't know if that means calling them every day or 6 days a week or whatever, but Jimbo's going to be relentless. And as you said, there's going to be other programs, that particularly one in Athens, that might get involved, and they don't lose too many recruiting battles. So it'd be a great commitment. Got to see this one through.
No doubt about it. All right. Let me see here. Gotta memorize that. You want to talk a little prize picks, man?
A little prize picks, man. Absolutely. Congratulations. Saw you hit a big one. That's awesome.
I did. We will be tweeting these out, even the ones that don't involve FSU. I can probably share screen this one, I think. Let me share screen, make sure I'm sharing the right, not slides. Share screen, Chrome tab. Here we go. Let's drop that in there. Yeah, that was quality. So basically, I took Louisville's kicker to have more fantasy points. Not because I thought Louisville was going to win the game, because I thought FSU would get more like some red zone stops and they would force some field goals. I thought that Wyoming's quarterback, we gave these out on Twitter, by the way. This is not like, after the fact. I thought Wyoming's quarterback, Peasley, would do a decent job against Air Force, because he ran all over them last year when he was Utah State's backup. He had to come in. I thought the number on Ontario, we both agreed on this one. I thought the number on Ontario Wilson was too small, or excuse me, was too big. Mm-hmm. Like, it seemed like, and we love the guys at Prize Picks, but we're not going to tell them what to do. Like, we want to set value for Knowles fans. The number on Ontario Wilson was higher than Pittman and Johnny Wilson. I was like, I just don't think his target share is that.
They respond. I mean, they set the number for a reason, but they're reactionary because the general public is. And
sure.
That was a number that was a little rich. I agree.
Connor Bazelak is not even a good quarterback, but Indiana's playing at a very high pace this year. They're running like the absolute wide open Walt Bell offense, and he's not a good player, but 1.5 passing touchdowns. I just figured they were going to get 15 or 16 possessions, and he did get this on literally like the last possession of the game. And then Blake Shapen, I figured after BYU's passing performance or after Baylor's passing performance at BYU, that might be a struggle, but they want to kind of get the kinks worked out when they're playing Texas State at home. And Texas State had a corner go down against, I forgot who it was. I think it was FIU. And their secondary is bad already. So I figured Baylor be able to throw all over them. And that got there fairly easily. So, yeah, I did it during their little happy hour thing, right? They have a little boost Friday. You can always use your promo code NOLCAST. That's promo code NOLCAST to get your 100% deposit match for first-time depositors. But they boost this stuff on Friday. Are they doing it every Friday?
I don't know that they're going to do it every Friday. I have that inquiry in. I will say that I'd be patient, because there are little promos that come up, stuff like that, and we give out some suggestions on Saturday morning that are pretty good, absent the one that is right there in front of you. Now, I'm Ingram Smith, win 3 of 4 bets on almost every damn thing I've placed this year.
You got to use the flex play.
I've got to just take the 1.5 multiple and keep doing it. Yeah, I mean, because it's my whole card. Every one I look at, I had Harrison on the weekend over for the fantasy score, got it. Keon Coleman, Mississippi State, over for receiving yards at 45. He got 116. Jordan Mims, 62 rushing yards, got 114. I got victimized by John Rice Plumlee. How the hell does that happen? Disappointing.
Willie's defense allowed him to throw for 340.
Yep.
I'm going back to that well, by the way. I'm not done with that. Like,
I'll go back.
I'm going John Rice Plumlee under passing stuff all year. And I think I'm going to come out ahead if I do it each week.
Well, they play Georgia Tech this weekend, so that'll be an interesting number.
I'm not doing it there.
Yeah.
That is not.
I had another 3 pick'em where this is one that I kind of went out on my own. Jeff Sims less than 19.5, got 18, got closer than I thought it was going to. This was one that I loved that I actually emailed Bud about. Jahmyr Gibbs at 83.5 yards. He ran for 36. That number was way too rich.
They kept the tread off those tires against Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah. And Trayshawn Ward at half a touchdown, and dude ran for north of 100, but didn't get in the end zone. So tough.
I did hit another one. Trying to find it here. Where did I hit it?
But if I get an email that our relationship's over because you keep hitting these damn tickets,
you don't like to hit these 15 extras?
Well, let's just be
like,
gentle.
Here's the sponsorship. We're not going to kick Bud out if you keep promoting us. No, those guys do a great job. They're really responsive, and I'm excited to keep working with them. You know, we love they support the Nolecast, and you guys have been having a lot of fun on it. I actually forgot to post them on Friday, and one of our listeners was like, "Hey, are you going to post these up?" So we did post them, and it's
no, we'll post them. Bud and I have a great time going back and forth throughout the week trying to build a ticket, and no, the response has been incredible from y'all, and so much so that they're like considering doing like a Nolecast specific square later on in the year or something like that. So credit to y'all, much appreciated, and they are exactly who we've looked for in a gambling, or not a gambling, but a daily fantasy sponsor. Definitely for a couple years. They're going to pay you. It's easy as hell. You can go get in and out in 90 seconds if you want to. So coupon code Nolecast. Thanks for all the support you've given us.
Awesome, guys. With that, I think we did an hour and a half. That's like an OG show.
This is like a 2013 Nolecast, yeah, or 2011.
Shout out Chuck. Shout out Christian. We got a lot of people that have been riding with us for a long time, man. In the chat, still hanging out.
Yeah, fantastic. Been a fun show. Look forward to many other Nolecasts where you got win column here, loss column 0. Makes it a hell of a lot better. So
I'm here for it. All right, I'm gonna go get in bed, finish the rest of this nighttime tea, and I'll put this in. I'll put this in the folder.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Thanks again for your support. We'll talk to you again later on in the week.
Take care, guys.